third conversation with Luke about boundaries and about motion, movement, energy in motion, bodies in motion, emotions in motion, and the importance of that. This has been a lovely conversation. I- I'm really happy I found Luke, which I think I did thanks to Reddy. He's a good person to know. So if you don't know Reddy, definitely find Reddy as well. But Luke and me, yeah, we had a good time. There was some important stuff here for me as well to remind myself of, to remember. Like the fact that nobody can make me feel anything. I can feel anything in relation to what you do or don't do, but you can't make me feel anything. And if you go, what is she talking about? Well, you will just have to listen in because we do go into that aspect of life. So enjoy and have fun. There you go. So
Anyway,
why are you here in two screens?
why am I here on two screens? Because it's easier for me to record audio. Like last time, Caspian said that there was a delay between, and I don't know which side, or how it was having a delay, but I just figured part of how I was doing it last time was I was taking output from the laptop and putting it into the desktop computer. And I decided, you know what? Let's just record audio on the desktop computer, uh, and just do video on the laptop. And the laptop is, uh, uh, it is computationally challenged, is not not as strong as it used to be. And I think last time it was kind of taxing to both be um, doing simultaneous audio and video. So I figured, you
Poor
know what, this is,
thing. The poor little thing.
yeah. So
Well,
yeah,
there you are.
but I'm figuring this will work. And if you're recording both um,
I am. He gets,
yourself by yourself and I'm recording myself by myself, then
and then
Caspian will
Zoom
be
is
able to match it up
recording
and it will work.
ourselves by ourselves as well as. So he has to choose from. Well, have fun, Caspian.
Yes, yes. Thank you.
So, how are you? It is July 15th
Yes.
when we're recording this.
Yes. I am. Hmm. It's not. Hmm. I'm usually in good spirits, and I'm not in as good of a spirits today. But then again, given the circumstances, I think that that is understandable.
Mm.
How are you?
And
How are you
so
doing?
I am, I am doing, I'm doing good. I have been having, um, well, basically, almost the last 2 months have been really interesting. Um, in many ways, both professionally and personally. Um, and I've gotten insights the way that I get insights. And I've been more social in the last 2 months than I've probably been in the last 3 years. It
Wow.
feels like. Yeah, and
Oh,
I mean, I haven't even, COVID really didn't affect me that much in one way because even though yes, I do work quite a lot from home, in the project that I was working on for at least the first half of or the first um, 6 months of COVID in 2020, I was in an office every day. So, but social as in not working social, yeah, it's been more than in a long time. I was at a dinner party last night. Uh, I'm a I'm one of the moderators in a personal finance discourse forum in Sweden called Rika Tillsammans, which is
that's always a fun job.
it is a fun job actually. It is
Yeah.
yeah, it is interesting. It's like I'm enjoying it. Especially working with these other people who were and then we had a moderator meetup dinner at Jan's place. And it was lovely. We started off by doing a ghost tour in the center of town as a little because two of the moderators are not from here. Um, so we had Jan had organized a ghost tour, Spökguiden, um, for people who are Swedes. You can check out Jacques. That was quite interesting, and he was telling stories about Malmö that I had no clue about. And some things that I knew a little bit or had heard or stuff. But he was also talking about Karna Möller, a woman who was married to a milliner and she died. And then she returned as a ghost. And so she was ghosting that place. And when her husband then he remarried immediately because they had 10 kids in 10 years. So it's like, a month after Carla had died, he remarried, which is what, men had to do. If mom goes, you need a new mom really quickly, right? Um, but when he then
Yeah.
died, she
10 kids is
came
a
and
lot for one
yeah,
person.
and when he died, story says that he was, they put the dead bodies out on the kitchen table and you had a wake and people were coming, etc. And Karna showed up as a ghost and everybody scattered and they were apparently dancing all night, the two of them, a final dance. Um,
Hmm.
and
The
it's
husband
kind of
named
funny to hear about this and
Carla.
how there was then when she first started to become a ghost, they opened her grave and put a iron rod through her mouth. I don't know everything that they did. And we kind of started asking the question, what will
Kill
we
her again
think?
because
What of the things that we do today will people in, 100, 200, 300, 400 years go, oh my God, how could they believe that? Um, and I haven't really come up with a good, like that one, but I was thinking about, as it's a personal finance forum, which I'm really not into. I'm into people, but there's lots of people in a discourse forum, and
that's why
I'm
you're the
really good at
moderator.
discourse forums. Um, I was thinking about the way that mass media so runs the show, in a sense, that we can get so riled up because of something that happens. If the headlines say, the stock markets are crashing, well, yeah, then everybody acts as if. And in a sense, it's kind of similar to there's a ghost, and everybody then thinks there's a ghost. That that's where my mind went this morning when I was kind of pondering this question.
Yeah, how do you uh well, yeah, and if that is the same kind of thing, if that is whipping people into a particular mood, um yeah, I've never been better at it now. They know all the buttons to push. So,
Yes, yes.
um,
And I mean, the
yeah,
psychology of that is so well known. I mean, there's not a computer game creator or an app creator or, movie creator that doesn't know precisely what ingredients to put where and how to make sure that you're just sucked into whatever it is.
yeah. Well,
Um,
and even if they can't tell you in like with words, like there's an intuitive sense that they know how to do that.
yeah, yeah. But that's interesting though, because we were also speaking about yeah, we had such interesting conversations last night, but um this whole we were talking about NFTs that I really don't get. I
Uh-huh.
think they're just silly and you know, just plain dumb, etc.
Yeah,
But
we could do the well, I was gonna say we could do the whole podcast on that, but it's a lot of things that I have heard from other sources, so they're not it would be primary source.
yeah, and I just don't really get it. But we were talking about this like well, like you and me spoke about in the first conversation also about this whole, the social status of having the skins when you're playing Fortnite or
The
so this
prestige.
yeah, prestige and all of the badges like discourse. I really like discourse forums, but I couldn't give a crap about all of the badges that you're given. You have now made, this post is extra super popular and you are now extra trusted member and just ugh. It's like I don't
Here's your gold status reward. Enjoy it.
and I just cannot muster any enthusiasm for that. It's like, okay. So I don't do well with that type of game or where that's part of the incentives. It's just couldn't care less. Sorry. Even though, and I'm proud to say Caspian does dub me as being a digital native, even though I'm 50 years old and even though I'm a woman, because there's not a lot of those in my age. Um, I do, like he says, I do spend a lot of time hooked up to the interwebs, and I do have a lot of my social interactions are like this. Um,
Yeah.
but just that stuff, just nah.
Mm, I've only recently become someone who has more interactions that way. I have been very much an analog person up until, I mean, around the time of the pandemic, maybe a little bit beforehand. Um, and I am very much the age that you would consider somebody a digital native.
Yeah.
Um, but
But my thinking is that I'm quite happy that I've been so socially active in 3D in the past 2 months. Um, I mean,
not in the metaverse.
no, but I mean, part of it has been 50-year celebrations turning 50. So that's like half of it. But there's been other stuff too. And I was just thinking about last night when I woke this morning that it is really nice to. break bread together and sit and talk and just talk. And it's lovely, lovely conversations, lots of fun, lots of riling each other, but also sticky topics, not easy topics at all. And I so enjoy that. I'm so happy that it's possible, you know? We can have
Yeah.
conversations that are around topics, Sweden is heading into its election year. So on September 11th, I think it's election day, and I have no clue what I'm going to vote for because it's just crap. But we were talking about that. And that can be
Hey.
one of those, oh no, you do not talk about politics. Yes, we really did talk about politics. And it was great fun.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
not everybody says, we're the same. It's like, no, 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 no. We were a spectrum.
Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah.
that is
Well, and
fun.
it's also a lot harder, I think when you're in person, you can't just press a block button
Nope.
that, "No, I don't wanna hear any more of this. I'm done with this." It's like, well, you could excuse yourself to go to the bathroom or something, but, it's a lot harder um, to tune out,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I think people are also I mean, I don't know about your particular group, but people are more reserved in criticism and, they're not willing to come out and say, well, you are these things because you believe this thing,
Yeah.
you have
Yeah.
to, well, you don't have to, but, you put on some sort of I don't know. I guess from what I'm overall trying to say is I think the discussions are probably better and higher quality when they're in person because there isn't
Yeah.
this like
There's a
even if you're not
nuance.
anonymous online, there is this feeling of increased anonymity that
Yeah.
allows you to
Yeah.
behave in ways that you maybe would not otherwise.
Yeah.
And I also
Precisely.
agree with the idea of uh yeah, talking about politics and things that might be sticky topics with people because I mean, it does matter, and I
Yeah.
have,
Yeah.
an uncle who grew up who, has kind of followed in my grandfather's footsteps as far as, like, being a salesman, and, yeah, that's one of his big things, you don't talk about politics, there are certain topics that you just don't talk about, and he'll get really uncomfortable with, and it's like, "Okay, that's okay, that's okay, I just won't talk about that with you," but I disagree. I think that
Yeah.
that
And
is
I mean, in a sense, it's like, okay, you don't talk about politics. Okay. Everything is politics. Really everything we do is politics.
yeah.
But that's one thing. And then, okay, you don't talk about religion, okay. And then you don't talk about money, okay. It's like, what's left to talk about? Whether
The weather, yeah.
music, possibly, maybe that can get people
Although
riled up. Maybe you can't
that
talk
could be
about
pretty
music.
political
It's
these
like,
days.
uh, what's left? It's
Yeah,
like, no, I'd rather say, okay, we can talk about everything. But how do I
yeah.
do that in a nuanced way, in a curious way? Even though I was actually the tough crowd last night, I was, yeah, but yeah, I was. But I had fun. I think they had fun too. So, but it's like, nah, I don't buy that. Um, but it's better to go ahead and talk about it. You know, okay, I'll put my foot in it and, step wrong and maybe even hurt you inadvertently because I say something that's really fucking clumsy. But when we're face to face, odds are I can pick up that, okay, I said this, Luke just turned white. I probably said something here. I can ask you,
Mm,
what did you hear me say? So that I can know that was it me or was it something in you that happened because you made a connection to something that I have no clue about? You know,
yeah.
um, that is so hard to do in writing, anonymously,
Oh,
in a
yeah.
discourse forum. It's like, yeah, there's always somebody who's wrong on the internet. Yes, there is, but it's not my job to,
What?
tell anybody.
Someone being wrong on the internet.
Yeah, I know.
I
It's
am
like,
needed. No.
how is this possible?
Um, yeah. Um, yeah. This I think this does relate to something that I was thinking about recently, and I thought a thread that I thought I might pick up from a previous conversation,
Go ahead.
where it was the last conversation we were talking about how it can be really easy to intellectualize things and to
And
not
some people are better at that than others. Hand up
yes,
over here, hand up
likewise,
over there. Yeah.
likewise, yes. Um, where yeah, like if we have different internal voices, the logical voice is, you know, the one that's always in control and
Or at
mm,
least the one that always wants to think that it's in control.
or well, right, or the one that maybe it would be easier to say or more fitting to say is um the one that generally runs the show
Yep.
and the one that is valued more.
Yes.
Uh,
Especially that one. Especially that one. That's the voice we want to hear. And not just
or
all of
maybe
the me's
other,
inside me, but everybody else also wants to hear
yeah,
from that
other
one.
people want to hear as well. Yeah. And, oh, yeah, just lots of conflict over the past month with family members and not in particular like I was the one getting in you know scraps, but more like things that were bleeding out and affecting my individual relationships with family members. And yeah, there being this sort of, oh, well, I'm not involved in this. I don't need to get, I don't necessarily need to. And then listening to the angry part that is triggered from, and that really is likely, like we talked about, a smaller version of ourselves from when we were young in the past that is getting triggered by this, whatever the thing is that's happening and that is having that response. And that actually, instead of ignoring that, it's better to, I don't know if in like the Buddhist sense, liberate that self and go,
And
well, no, we do need to listen to that self. We need to let that out and then productively channel it. And you can logically direct an angry or frustrated impulse or passionate. If we're trying to expand this to be in a discussion about politics, if it's an issue that you're particularly heated about, you can let yourself get frustrated and really angry, but instead of it coming out as just indiscriminate rage, letting it be the fuel. I mean, it's just maybe just go sublimate, do something that you know like chop wood or run, jog or do something to get the energy out, but then constructively channel it in a, to a very specific end of, you did these things, I didn't appreciate these things, I would really appreciate an apology, yeah, or even more importantly, a change in behavior going forward. Um, and and having a productive discussion about those things, um, rather than either having a ranty, unproductive discussion or not having a discussion at all, that there is a middle ground between there. So, um,
how
yeah,
has that
so
gone for you in the past month?
helpful with some folks, not, I think, as effective with people who, are determined not to change. I think it's really, yeah, it's really difficult when somebody is um, not open to hearing you and is so mm, invested in their position because it has become such a part of their identity that to listen to you and to change behavior would be to really have to result in a fundamental shifting of their identity, which I think is tricky and not something that's going to happen quickly or overnight or at all. Um, so helpful when it's been helpful for most interactions with people, but with certain people, it's like, well, I'm trying to be careful not to go, well, it doesn't matter how I act, because it does still matter, but it's kind of like, well, I just don't have to put that effort into trying to work with that person because,
So do you then, I mean, because this is one of those, it's like with family, especially, and possibly also if you're employer or colleague and you don't want to move jobs, right? But family
yeah,
especially, it's like there's a the sort of discernment is useful here where, okay, is there someone in my life whose behavior I so do not tolerate, do not want, that hurts me badly, that leaves me wounded or drained of energy or whatever? It's like, I need to shut this off. And they won't hear me. They won't talk to me. They won't be open to meet in the middle somewhere in Rumi's field. um, but
or will pretend to meet in the middle, but
without doing it,
not
right?
actually.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a
Yeah,
fine line between, okay, who do I cut out of my life? Who do I then say, okay, I won't? And who will I put on the other side where, okay, I don't want to cut them out because they're my mom, dad, aunt, uncle, next door neighbor, whatever. Um, but I will care for me. I will make sure that I
yeah,
only see them if there's other people around or 3 times a year because that's my limit. Or, I don't have to cut them off. I don't have to be rude when I meet them, etc. But I don't have to like pull them in towards me and really, okay, you know, dive in and just massage myself in their energy. It's like, no, you don't have to do that actually. Uh,
I love that that metaphor there, or that mental image, or
yeah, because I think
yeah,
it is one of those. Um, it's useful to remember that this is actually valid, period. Regardless what it is. If it is the next door neighbor or my spouse or kids or mom or, cousin or the boss or the colleague next to me at work or a politician that I've never met, but I see them always and I do this massage myself in their energy. It's like I
yeah,
should be careful about that. And that is my responsibility. That is on me. I am
yeah,
the one
yeah,
to honor my boundaries. If I don't honor my boundaries, how the heck are you going to do that? It's just not
yeah.
possible.
And I could put a pin in that about, if it's somebody who's like a politician who you've never met. I That is something that um a number of people in my sphere do with Trump, where it's
Mm.
like, yes, he's bad. Yes, he's awful. I know that. I don't need to just fly into this into this outrage, every time I see this headline, because it's like, I get it. Let's deal productively with the bad things that are happening, or let's, try to fight um, in an arena where we actually can make some kind of a change happen. But going on these sort of histrionics and this kind of mm, uh, there, I think it's a transactional analysis game called Ain't It Awful, where you don't really do anything. You just sit around and go, oh, this thing, ain't it awful? Oh yeah, it's so awful. Did you hear about this? Oh, ain't it awful? Oh, it's so awful. And everybody
Ugh.
yes, some people get some sense of like for some people, I mean, the whole reason why the theory is why people play these types of games is that it does provide some sort of soothing to them.
But
But
I think it
for
is
me,
a
that
I think
is
it is
not the
one of
case.
those, self-medicating perhaps, in a sense. It's
Yeah.
not necessarily always so good for you. I get why
No,
you're
no, it's
doing it,
not.
but there could be better ways to do it. But
Yeah.
it is a type of drama addiction. I
Yeah.
want the
Yeah.
drama of it. I want the raised blood pressure, high pulse, almost
Yeah.
sweating, and I can't believe my ears, and tearing of hair, and all of
Hmm.
this stuff. And I've so once in a while I do get pulled into it. I think it's very easy to do, but I have
Back to the
very
media point. The media wants you to do that.
the one precisely, the media definitely wants you to, but I have for probably 15 years been quite conscious about this. Alan Seal, a master coach that I took a class with, or many classes with, he had the disco model: drama, situation, choice, opportunity, disco. And drama being the top level, the surface level of it. It's like you can step down. Who do I want to be in the situation? You can step even further down. What's the choice that I have here? And at the bottom is there an opportunity here? What might that be, right? And just seeing that made me go, huh, I have been drama junkying, and if I just knowing that made me go, okay, it's easier for me to just step down further on into that. It's mental states. It's mental states, but
Yeah.
it has really made me not really fond of drama anymore. So yes, I still get hooked on it now and again, but
Well, yeah. When something
not.
unexpected and really shocking happens, I mean, it's kind of hard.
Yeah, but it's like even the other night, my daughter texted me and said, will there be a new election now that Boris Johnson has resigned? And I'm like, he's resigned? It's like, I
Oh,
haven't looked at, it's like, I really do not go into a lot of the political activities and stuff. And also, if there's um, you know, horrible things happen, people shoot each other, there's a fire, the house burns down, or an earthquake or whatnot. It's like I can I can take it in, I can feel it, but I don't have to massage myself in the energy of it. I don't have to stay hooked to the news flashes of what's the latest on the war in Ukraine. It's like, no, I didn't from the start. I did not do that because it just drains me. And that's my choice.
yeah.
And I get to make that choice. If you are energized by it, or if you feel that that fuels your activity and it makes you do something that you feel is really worth doing, go ahead. Whatever floats your boat. My boat sinks if I'm on
Yeah.
on that stuff. It's like I sink, I drown. Like I'm no good for nobody then.
yeah, hmm, I sometimes I will sometimes get hooked not so much from a drama perspective, but I'll see a headline and click it and maybe read the summary and then move on. And just to get a data point where it's like, okay, is this is there a trend going on here? And mm, I try to, yeah, I guess if opportunity is where you can look mm, to do something, uh, it's that's kind of my goal. Um, but yeah, for me, it's more of or at least I try to be dispassionate in collecting data points like, oh, so this happened, and so then is also happening. So then what might this mean for something else happening um, farther down the road? And, and if there is something that might be coming, like y- recession is something that I think has been in the US coming for a long time, where it's like, oh, okay, so I can start making productive decisions about how to address that rather than getting caught up in one specific thing. And also, this is just because you brought up the Boris Johnson thing. Yeah, with the addiction to drama, what's just so weird is like it's the COVID parties that brought him down. Not all of the other stuff that, is like way worse, that people are like really upset from a drama aspect about the COVID parties.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Like, some people didn't do that too. He just happens to be the prime minister. I don't, yeah, like, I don't know. It just doesn't,
But so
I,
so
I,
is this then, is that an example of where it is relatable? Is that why there's extra outrage? Because I didn't get to sit with my mom when she died in the hospital. I'm not speaking about
yeah,
me and my mom. I'm speaking hypothetically. Or, I turned 50 and I couldn't have a party, or my son's 15th birthday didn't happen because is it that it is
yeah,
relatable in that sense? Whereas like the rest of the shit is, that's politician stuff. That's,
yeah,
the economy stupid, or that's things that are
no.
so far from normal life in a sense.
Or they affect me, but I don't. They're more abstract. It's not
Exactly.
as clear a cause and effect. I think that that's
Yeah.
that's a good point. That
Yeah.
probably
It's
is a
not
good
relatable.
explanation for why.
Yeah. So this thing
Yeah,
about the COVID parties, like, well, fuck, I've not been to 15 parties in the last 3 years, and that fucker has been having them. What the hell? It's like I can see that
yeah,
being one of those that it's very close to home. Um,
yeah, yeah. And I don't. This is one of those things that makes me. Yeah, yeah, well, but this is also I recognize that me as a person, I am more of an introvert, and so I don't really need to go to lots of parties, and I probably would not have gone to 15 parties in 3
in three
years
years.
anyway.
Yeah.
So, like, so maybe that's a good explanation for why it's not relatable to me, because it's like,
Yes. Yes.
mm, where it's like, well, mm, it's like, well, yeah, it's disappointing that he's making the rules and is not following the rules, and that other people are not having to do the things. But I also recognize that a lot of politics is like being face to face with people and having meetings and maintaining rapport with people and being able to like swing deals with people. So I just don't have outrage about it. I
No.
I think
No.
uh yeah, I think it's regrettable, and I think that that example you gave is a very good one of like, I wasn't able to be next to a family member of mine that was dying because of COVID restrictions, and you know, you're breaking the rules to go have some drinks. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
understand it. I can understand
Yeah,
it.
precisely. And possibly that also means that the stuff that's really important is harder to access or address, because if you do, you can't ignore it anymore. So the really important political decisions, whatever they may be, but it's like if you look at that, all of a sudden I feel this. All of a sudden, if I look at what's the Swedish government been doing when it comes to COVID and vaccinations, and what are they, the rules or the enforcements that have been put in place, and what does that mean, and how are they treating all of this? What offices or works can be shut down, and how, what, all of that stuff. If I really go into that, it's kind of hard to keep on living the way that I do, because it im- because there's an implication that actually means, ha, now I see this. I can't unsee it. But that means this, and this. That, should, could impact the way that I live my life, the way that I do the work that I do, the way that I travel or don't. Um, and like, so I can understand not wanting to go there. It's a little bit like doing doing the work on yourself personally. I'm doing really serious therapy at the moment, and have been for 2 years, and I'm so enjoying it, and fuck, it's hard.
Yeah.
And that thing, it's like it is hard work. It takes a lot of energy. I find it extremely valuable. But I can also understand why people would say, okay, no, I'm just going to turn off this thing here, connection between mind and body, and just say, nah, there's nothing there, and live my life gaily, happily, bouncing around. It's like, or not.
Yeah. I yeah. Yeah. If maybe not if maybe not happily if they have
But there's
decided
a,
to
there's
stop.
a, blissful ignorance. That's a saying for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can kind of stay in that blissful ignorance and just not, um and and you and me both raised our hands in that intellect. It's easy to intellectualize. I think people like us, or at least for me, it's harder to ignore. It's harder to stay in blissful ignorance. It's harder to choose to stay there. Because it's like,
Yeah.
I know there's underneath. I know there's stuff below that surface, and I just can't. It's like I'm too curious. I want to open and see what's underneath.
Yeah.
Um, Even though that's not
Yeah.
always a pleasant experience.
Yeah. Um and yeah, to come back, because I appreciate that meandering turn that we took down the COVID parties bit, the Boris Johnson bit. But to come back to the initial, closer to home, um, thing we were talking about with regards to like, um, when you have somebody who is resistant to change, well, yeah, how do you deal with that? Do you set boundaries and say this is what is allowed and what's not? And a way that I have been finding that's easier is, and not just with this particular person, but larger things in general, potentially whole concepts, stores, um, like you were saying, eh, this is what works for me, but I recognize that other people are not like me. And basically that, okay, well, I can go to this person for these things. So things go well when we do these activities and it's helpful. But I'm not going to go to this person for all of these other things
Mhm.
because all of these other things open me up to be hurt.
Yeah, hurt or rejection
Um,
or not being understood or being ridiculed or whatever it is. Yeah.
yeah, and then the thing about the depth too, that part of the conflict has been me sort of banging on their door. Hey, there's more down here that you're not exploring. And, no thanks, I don't really want to open that door. And, well, no, you're hurting other people around you and you really need to open this door. And I'm going to start telling you things that are down here that no, please stop. I don't want to, I don't want to open the door. Mm, I want to stay in the blissful ignorance because where I'm at is comfortable
Yep.
and I get to live my life the way that I want to. And going and sometimes being at peace with that, and then sometimes some uh, explosive thing happens with another family member and I get caught in the drama of it and go, this is really
Because
not
I think
fair and
that's
really not
kind of,
okay.
I think that's the trickiest part. I have um, my aunt just could not stand Trump. And she spent so much time talking about Trump, reading about Trump, watching Trump, bringing up Trump, that I'm just, I don't meet her that often. When I do, I just let her talk. It's like, it's not worth going into it because it doesn't really, I can just kind of let it in and out. It doesn't really affect anything. But what you're pointing to is if her behavior had been behavior that she stays in blissful ignorance, or somebody else stays in blissful ignorance, but their actions are actually hurting not just you, but a whole bunch of people,
Mhm.
that's a trickier one. That's a harder thing to bear. How do especially if you're the one who sees it. That's not an easy one. That's not an easy one to be. And especially if you're alone in seeing it, or, you know, nobody else wants to see that or can see that or whatever. That can be hard.
Well, yeah. Or, I mean, the situation is very much that hmm, I'm not alone in seeing it, but I am. Uh, there's a Buddhist by the Roadside episode where you guys talked about people who were sort of in the middle between two extremes, that those were very helpful people in terms of being able to bridge divides and being able to um, um, de-escalate, perhaps, being
Yeah.
able to say, well, I can see your side of it, but I can also see your rationale for this, and let's mediate. I mean, it's really being a mediator or being like a translator. And that's very much the difficulty is it's like, well, I see what's going on. One of the other people who can see it, one gets really angry about it in an unproductive way that
Mm.
causes the person who is being harmful to just shut down and tune it out and go, well, that person's just awful and evil, and I don't have to listen to anything that they say. And the other person sees it, but it doesn't bother them enough, or maybe they're like worried, they're overly worried that it might come around to them, that they just don't ever say anything. Um, and so I find myself often being in the middle where it's like, well, I understand where everyone is coming from and I can do the work of translating, but it's very emotionally exhausting to do that. And it doesn't really seem to, it seems to be a quick fix, and it never really fixes anything for a long period of time because they are not having to fix things themselves. They are just,
Precisely. So you stay the
um,
eternal middleman. I've had that
right.
role in many places.
Yeah. And it's not very fun. So
No, it's
I'm
not.
trying to stop doing it.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm happy to it's fascinating to hear you say that, being so young, because I had my real insight into this was just 5, 6 years ago, where I was like, ugh, I've been the eternal middleman here. I have always been the one translating, because even if these two people are actually wanting the exact same thing, they just can't communicate it. So they end up pissed at each other because each think the other one wants something else than what they think they want. And I'm going, no, you want the precise same thing, you fuckers. Fuck. Stop. Right? But actually stepping out of that and still seeing it and seeing how they just shoot, you know, past each other. They just do not meet in the middle and not do anything, keep my mouth shut, keep my hands to my side, and just not say anything. Oh man, it's hard. Really, really good, but hard as.
yeah. Well, and hmm. So yeah, I'll talk about this. So I think part of it for me is in realizing, I mean, part of it is, I've been in therapy for about 4 years now, but part of it is also the degree to which, like, how much of my time has been spent doing it and how that has negatively impacted me. And, I have kind of outlined my thesis in the podcast with Ayal about,
Yeah.
uh, I mean, it's not mine, it's borrowed, but the idea of that, mm, holding in anger and suppressing your authentic self in order to facilitate somebody else's happiness. And that's a very oversimplified version of that, but that can be what causes medical issues
Yeah.
where your body is attacking itself. Um, I think Gabor Mate, who I stole it from, believes that to be the case for autoimmune illnesses,
Yeah.
things like ALS.
Yep.
I'm not sure about cancer or not, but yeah, it's like so. The very quick story. So yes, I like I said, I had a little bit of mild cancer, which is still cancer. I'm kind of being silly, but but and it is very serious. Basically, um, I hurt myself accidentally and was very upset with myself because I thought that I caused an injury, and then that put the cancer on the radar of the doctors, or like, the body part that it was in, and they're like, oh, actually, we need to, operate as soon as possible, and there's a miraculous cancellation on the surgery schedule next week, and so they removed it. And I
And
am having a little
you
bit
wouldn't
of
have found it if you hadn't hurt yourself. So,
exactly, and so I'm like,
so
well, actually, I'm not upset with myself. I
no,
probably saved
thank
my
God
life
you
because
did.
it's a very aggressive form of cancer, and it was found very early. So yeah, I'm very, very, very thankful that it worked out that way. But um, I'm doing a little bit of chemotherapy to prevent it from coming back. I basically they have said, well, you could just do scans a lot, and and we could do lots of tests frequently, and you could just watch it, and that is the standard in other places. Or you could do 3 weeks of chemotherapy and reduce your risk of it coming back from 50% to 5%. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm pretty young and I would like to live for a long period of time, and I don't like those odds. So I
Yeah.
can deal with some momentary difficulty. But that did, okay, if my philosophy is consistent, and I think it is, and even if it's not, I think that it's a good way to think, is that the implication is I'm not done yet, and that there's still suppression going on, and
Yeah.
I'm still not being my authentic self. And as it took a while to process, all of the physical aspects of it, but as I have returned to look for those things, I go, yeah, it is still happening, and I can root out. I have to root out more things because it's not done yet. The weeds are still growing. So,
Yeah. And
um,
it's like
so it does
you're
feel
never
kind of life or
done.
death in some ways.
Yeah, but I mean, you're never done.
No, no, I
You
know, but
really are never done. It is
I would
not
like to be done
possible.
enough that I don't develop any more life-threatening
Cancers.
illnesses.
Yeah, I can understand that. That's a good goal to have. Um,
Because it does feel in some regards kind of life or death, where it's like I need to
yeah,
deal with this now, just
yeah,
because I don't know if that is part of what is going on. I
yeah,
know there's a genetic predisposition. I mean,
yeah,
but yeah, but you're right. You're never really done.
yeah. But it's. I think there's the the imagery that's been with me for the past couple of years, especially, is the image of motion, of movement, of not letting energy get stuck, or emotions, which just happen to be energy, or thoughts, which just happen to be energy, or experience, which just happen to be energy. So and that's kind of, that's my, and I mean, I'm a biologist. I've studied stuff and I work in the pharma industry and whatnot, even though I don't work with the medicines per se. But I definitely think that we are we don't live in a society where this aspect is it's not, it's not a topic that you are supposed to bring up. It's not a good topic. It's like, you're woo woo if you think that you can cause yourself to be sick. And I'm going, fuck yeah, you can cause yourself to be sick. It's like there's no doubt in my mind. That does not mean that I blame everybody who has gotten ALS or cancer or, you know, IBS or whatever
Blame their
autoimmune
parents.
thing, that you're
No, I'm
bad, you
joking.
should have done better. No,
No, no, no, no, no.
no, not at all. And yes, we can all learn to deal with ourselves, to care for each other better, to honor our boundaries, because that is one way to make sure that we are keeping ourselves in that motion, just not getting stuck in unproductive or unhealthy patterns or habits or routines, or that just don't. don't
Yeah.
help us.
And I agree with you that it's a hard thing because it's like, well, yes, it's your fault, but no, it's not your fault. If you know what I
Yes,
mean?
yes,
Like
yeah,
it's
precisely.
like, well, yes, you have the power to change it, but at the same time, you didn't necessarily cause it. Like I think, yeah, like the story that I shared
Mm,
about, with my family about, in part it was parental action, but in part it was also just really difficult life circumstances that nobody had control over. And the parenting difficulties were very much picked up or were a byproduct from their parents, and which were then a product of either, not having a parent or having parents that were products of life
there,
circumstances like
yeah,
war.
exactly.
And so
Yeah.
it's not, in a way, it's not anybody's fault, but but it is.
No, it's not, and I think that's an important one. I don't see the point of blame really, but to know that I play a part, to know that and to acknowledge that and to take responsibility for that. In the same way that, if you choose to smoke and you then develop lung cancer, kind of not a difficult, jump from one to the other. It's like, yes, you have helped cause this. Yes, you have. You made a choice. Stand for the
Yeah.
choice. Um, and I mean that's one of the easier one because there's such a clear correlation and you can kind of understand it because you make your lungs go all black. It's like, yeah, it's no wonder that you develop lung cancer. Um,
Yeah.
but so there's a fine line there between not assigning blame, but to honor people enough to shine a light on everybody's own empowerment, own power, own responsibilities. Like, I own me and my actions. It's like, that's not you blaming me. That's you fucking empowering me, by pointing that out, by telling me that it's on me. It's like,
Yeah.
what I do is on me. And it's impacted by my parents and their parents and the neighbors and what
And
I've
if
done at
it's
work and what I've been eating and what
smoking,
do
it
I
could
like.
be advertising,
Yeah,
that, a company that is looking for, uh, if you want to say, yeah, a victim, somebody with certain life circumstances who is likely to
yeah,
develop an addiction, and going, oh, we
yeah,
want to hook you. We want to hook you. So,
yeah.
it's, yeah, and it's, hmm. uh, there was a thread that came up on Twitter a while ago about, um, trying to remember the two words. I remember basically the gist of the two value systems. One is decoupler, and I want to say the other one is like it's not empathizer, but one is that you are responsible for all of what you cause in other people and the effects that you produce in the world. And the other one being that you are responsible for your own emotions, and
Mm.
that and therefore everyone is responsible for their own emotions and for their own actions. And, you just kind of have to deal with it. And I think his name is Elodis or Eloidis, put a very provocative thing at the end saying, like, because there was this poll of different questions, and you could put different answers for whether you thought it. And it's like, well, if you answered all one or all the other, congrats, you have a consistent moral system. But if you don't, then you're just like an opportunist who needs to reevaluate their belief system. And I was like, well, it's not that simple. I do believe that we are responsible for our own actions, but at the same time, it is kind to think of other people.
Precisely. But that's the thing, though. That's precisely the thing. You cannot make me angry. I can get angry because you're a fucking asshole. Right? It's like, but
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
not making me angry. I am making myself upset enough. I fall into the drama of whatever it is, the actions that you're
Mm.
making, or what you're saying or not saying, how you're doing it, how you're not doing it. I get angry from that. You're not making me angry because you cannot make me angry, but I can. And so I can't make anybody angry, which does not mean I have a green card and can go around being assholey. That's not who I want to be. But I can't make you angry. But who do I want to be? How do I want to show up in the world? What type of person do I want to be? What do I want you to think about me? All of that is on me. I still can't make you angry, but I can definitely behave like a shit scum. And,
That's a
it's
very good
like,
way to put it.
and I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that person, right? But even if
Yeah.
I am,
Mm.
you are not made angry by me. You get angry by your reaction to me. And if you are in a good state of mind, you can tolerate a lot of fuckery from my point. If you're not, if you're low, you know,
Intellectualize that away.
I don't have to do anything almost, and you would get super frustrated and angry because you're at a low state of mind. The quality of your thinking isn't good enough at that moment.
I'm low blood
So
sugared
yeah, precisely, right? So
or something.
it's all of that stuff, which is again, I am responsible for me and my actions. You are responsible for you and your actions. But who do I want to be? What's the culture? What's the quality of the engagement, of the connection? And what do I want to foster? What do I want to see more of in the world? Yes, be that thing.
A
Um,
very good way to put it. That would be a good title for the episode. Who do I want to be?
Caspian, can you hear this?
Yeah. Yeah, but that sums that up really, really well. Um, that sums that up really well.
Yeah, and it's
That
also, I think it's such an important question, and given our habit encourage behavior of intellectualizing everything, fuck, we make it harder than it needs to be. Because Pup the cat, he knows precisely who he want to be in the world. He's a cat. He does cat things, and he's happy as a lark or a cat, right?
yeah.
But
A
we
sunbeam
can
is all
make
that's
it
needed.
so hard. How do I do this thing? Well, maybe if we take away part of that instead, going towards, like you say, you have put on so many layers, and part of those layers are actually making you sick, right? Okay, what do I do? How
Yeah.
do I get rid of these layers so that what is there is me in motion?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Because sometimes, and to come back to, I really like, Ayal's idea of the good being fitting because it's kind of like, well, yeah, there are some times where it is fitting to get angry. It is
Yes.
fitting to respond to a threat or respond to something that is harmful or causing you harm.
Mm,
And if you, like the layers, if you've put on so many clothes that you can't move, you can't,
time to get
you
some,
can't,
take some off. Yeah.
yeah, you can't take, if there are certain actions where you think, well, I must not take this action, Well, then if you find yourself in a situation where you have to take that action, well, too bad. You can't take the fitting action. You can't be
Mhm.
in motion. He really likes the idea of the snake that is moving across the terrain and has these obstacles and knows how to find the right path through
Yeah.
that and doesn't get hung up with, well, I can only take left turns. I can't take right turns,
No,
It-
yeah,
it's
or you
limiting that,
can't walk on the mark in the side walk. It's like, oh no, I can't mark on or walk on the lines. I need to, it's like, oh yeah, let's
Yeah,
make it hard for ourselves,
yeah.
you know?
And sometimes, if it's something that is, limitations can create a fun game. Like, what I'm going to
Absolutely.
modulate my pace so that I don't walk on the
Yeah,
cracks. It's not that I don't,
yeah, yeah.
I
But
can't,
not
but I'm choosing
100%
to.
of the time, always.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Again, being in motion. In It's such a good thing to have that the space in the room for movement in everything, including those limitations. It's like, yes, there are limitations that can be great fun. But if I'm always doing that, I will get stymied. Okay, then my the bandwidth is narrowed. I don't have
Yeah.
all of the other things. That's not good. Play with the dials. Go really loud now and again. That's the fun. And and
Yeah.
and I think that this, my question to myself has been, how does this serve?
Hmm.
That I've asked tens of thousands of times, so I don't have to ask it anymore. I did ask it of myself, either out loud or inside of my head for years on end, which made me again see that, like you say, it's not as if only the positive with bunny ears emotions are the good ones. No, all emotions are, they just are. There's not positive, negative, they just are. And they play a part. In the right setting, one of those is going to be the one. You don't know which one. If you only play with half of the deck, hmm, yeah, you're stymied. Then you're stumped again. You can get stuck and it can get dangerous. But if I
Yeah.
have the entire register, if I get to play with all of the instruments in the orchestra, man, the stuff I can do.
Yeah. Um, this this falls in well. So, um, one of Ayala's guests recently was Rachel Clifton, and she asked a question. She has talked about or posted I don't know, short like Twitter voice note or something about started off really well saying I don't like nice people. Oh, I don't like nice guys, but talking about the limitations of when you have to see yourself as a nice person and you become really really concerned with upholding that image that can be a trap
Yes.
because then you
Tell me
can't take
about it.
certain actions because then you limit, like you were saying, your range of emotions, and you limit,
Yes.
um,
Yes.
and I don't think she explicitly said this, but I just from being in that position can say that it happens. It's like, well, you're still having those emotions. They're still there with you, the ones that are bad or not nice, but they are under the surface and they're
Push
bubbling, and
down.
then
Yeah.
they come out when somebody challenges your perception of whether or not you're a nice person or not. That's when it's like, what?
Yeah.
I'm not a nice person. I'm gonna let out the bad person
Yeah.
to get
Yeah.
really angry and frustrated at you for saying that I'm not a nice person, which is
Yeah.
kind of funny and ironic. Um, but yeah, like you were saying, you know, all emotions are players on a stage, a story without a villain is kind of a boring story, isn't it? You
There's no
know,
fun at all.
you
And
know,
it's
and not, and if it's all villains, it's not fun either.
no, precisely. It's like, again, we need the rage. It's like
Yeah.
it's not monochrome. That's not what we're going for. We want the rage, but um I a lot of the therapy that I'm doing, or the starting point of the therapy, was shame, which for me is very, very linked to being a good girl.
Mm.
No, because good girls don't do that. They don't want to do that thing. And then you go, but I do. And then I don't say that because I fear that you will shame me for it. So I shame myself for it by stopping myself from saying it, from wanting it, from expressing it. And it's just, talk about limiting myself. Talk about kind of playing with a decimated orchestra. It's like, yeah, sure, that can be fine. But now and again, you need the full orchestra because you have a symphony that you're going to play. That sounds really stupid if you only have three instruments.
Yeah.
So the nice thing, I think, harms us so much. And that's kind of the last 2 months have been a real insight into this fact that I have spent the last 20 years really honing my light side and, getting good at that stuff. But the dark side, ooh, it's coming now. Like, it's coming now. What will I be able to do when I have the entire orchestra at my disposal? Not just the fun, sweet, light noises or sounds, but all of it. It's like, ooh. And
Low
it scares me to
tuba.
death. You know?
Anyway,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, yeah. I think, been in a similar spot as well. Um, and yeah, and it is tricky because it's like, well, being being genuinely nurturing and helpful. Um, I really do genuinely enjoy that. So, but at the same time, um, there are sometimes darker impulses, and I think that mm, I've gotten better at letting those out, but finding the right outlet for
Yeah.
it, or a productive outlet for it, rather than um, something that is
Indiscriminatorily.
a
Yeah.
net harm. Like,
Yeah.
this is gonna
Again, the
sound
sort
like
of
a,
discernment. That's what's needed. It's like,
you know,
when is this? When is this what needs to be happening? When is it that, oh, what wants to happen here? Some dark stuff. Okay. I let it instead of, oh, no, 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 no. I don't do dark stuff. Is there anything wanting to happen here? No. Well, then we'll just have a break. Um, it's like, no. What wants to happen? If it's the dark stuff, well, it's for a reason. I think it is for a reason. It's like, that's where the energy wants to go. That's where there is energy. Um,
yeah, yeah. I Yeah, where things have been recently is there is a really fundamental desire for there to be, like, familial stability. And you know, sometimes parents have to take away kids' toys if they're, coloring on the walls, or if they're um breaking them or stuff like that. And I didn't start by I didn't start by having direct conversations about, you have caused harm, these are the things you've done, and I'm very upset, and all of these things with family members, which, like I said, has had some mixed results. But I started with a neighbor's cat. This is gonna sound terrible, but so uh our
Get
neighbor's
ready for
cat.
some dark stuff, listeners.
Yeah, okay. Well, it is a black cat, but his name is Murphy. It would come in our yard and really just all over the neighborhood. And like, you have a cat. You know that cats can be a little twisted. They
Oh,
like to
yeah.
kill things. They like to play with things.
Yeah.
But, usually if they do that, they will eat it or they will bring it to your door to
Yeah.
feed you. There's a
Yeah.
reason for it. Murphy just kills things or would kill things, like my neighbor who walks her dog would find these like adolescent frogs just strewn on the road that he's killed and like played with. Um and so there was one day that I got back from an acupuncture session and I was trying to meditate and I was listening to the birds and then they all just went silent. It's like that was very weird. And then it's just a most awful sound. I could, and it couple minutes and I was like, I can't deal with this. And what it was is Murphy had punctured the lung of another adolescent frog and was watching it die. We were just standing over it watching it. And I'm like, you are so twisted. And so I like stalked and scared the crap out of him and he didn't go outside for 4 months. So, and now I feel bad because now he's a little skittish around humans that are not his humans. And but there have not been dead adolescent frogs
Ever
and
since.
creatures around the yard killed for the sole purpose of torturing them for entertainment. So it's like it's like okay, yeah, I it's not how I wanted to act towards him. I like fluffy cats. I like to, I am definitely a cat person, but it's like, no, you need to learn a lesson here,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna be big and scary, and
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna freak you out. I'm gonna turn the stalker into the stalked.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Kind of
that
beating
was
Matty's own game. And this is
well, I wouldn't
the,
kill him. I just wanted to scare him.
no, you wouldn't puncture his lungs and watch him die.
No. Although the
Um,
birds thought I were. The birds were going crazy. It was really funny. There was like, it was like more bird song than I've heard in my life. He's gonna kill the cat. He's gonna kill the cat. He's gonna kill the asshole. It's like, no, no, I'm not. But yeah, so
but
that was the beginning.
it's a story that for me awakens questions about boundaries and honoring
Yeah.
boundaries for myself because you can't make Murphy honor your boundaries. You have to tell Murphy what your boundaries are. And your boundaries
And
apparently
yeah.
were for the 58th time this month, another adult frog, and you're actually just watching him die. No, cross the line. That's it. And you
You
act
can
on
be in
it.
the yard, but you can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
bringing that home to like me and where in my life am I letting Murphys kill stuff around me without me saying stop? It's like, I'm guessing there's a lot of people out there who can say, hmm, that one maybe it's a little bit close to home. Where am I letting people cross my boundaries without me honoring my boundaries? And then I can even sit and shit about people who don't honor my boundaries. But I'm not honoring my boundaries. I'm the one who has to honor them. It is on me. Then you can choose to do the thing or not. Then it's up to me. If you don't, after I've really expressed it, and you say, I don't give a fuck about your boundary, bye, Luke, right? That is the logical next step. It's like, if you are not honoring my boundaries after I have clearly expressed it, after I've clearly said, this goes, this doesn't go, then I have to step in and take actions. But I can't do that unless, I can't blame you if I haven't been clear.
Yeah. And yeah, that's something I have been thinking about recently because there have been a number of people where that has been the case, where it's like, well, yeah, like you have said, this is not serving. Where there have been folks where mm, my life is not being enriched by, that like there's just not a, it's a one-sided game. And some of those folks I have set boundaries and I have given reasons for why. And yeah, there has been some feelings of guilt for people who I have cut out without giving them reasons and without telling them. And it's almost backwards in some ways because it's like it's been the people who have been doing the really egregious stuff got reasons, and the people who are doing things that were milder but more frequent did not. So I'm still thinking about what to do.
So here's a question for me then. When we try to explain things or give reasons or rationales, I think it's really valuable to consider, for whom am I doing this? Am I doing it for me? Because shit, I need to hear myself make this rational, because otherwise I feel like shit. Am I doing it because I want to, you know, really stab them a little bit extra? Am I,
Yeah.
why am I doing it? Am I doing it so that I feel vindicated in cutting them off? Or am I doing it because, no, I really honestly just want them to know I don't need them to do anything or to be anything else. I just want them to know so that they can take that, and then maybe in their life, that's the cleanest version, I think.
Hmm.
And then they can get really ugly and kind of half rotten. Uh because it's like,
Yeah.
why? What's my drive to justify myself? For whom am I trying to do this? And often it is, oh, I feel like crap inside, so I'm trying to offload that on you. That's not a good
Yeah.
idea.
Well, yeah, it's that comes with what I was saying earlier about getting angry and wanting to channel it in a very specific direction and not say things like in college, the friend group that I was in kind of imploded spectacularly with pretty much every person in the group being frustrated and angry with all of the other people in the group. And people would talk about other people in the group and things that the other people did that made them angry. And a lot of times it seemed like when they were airing grievances, it's like, well, you sound like you're upset about one, like you're saying that this is the issue, but it really sounds like there's something else that really hurt you that is more pressing, but you don't, but it requires some vulnerability to name it, if that makes sense. And
Okay.
so, yeah, when I have given those kinds of reasons for cutting folks off, I try to be very, or have tried to be very specific about, these specific things, these specific patterns of behavior. Um, and I'm trying to remember with one of them, I don't remember if I put my, how I felt. I think that is something that helps when you state, doing this made me feel this way. Although again, like you said, we make ourselves feel that. So, um, but yeah. So I don't. Yeah. So I didn't end up. I don't think I did end up putting how I felt, but you could kind of work it out where, in one of them where it was like, well, I brought a whole bunch of ideas to the table and took special classes to bring, so that I could bring information to the table, and that was never good enough. And you brought the same information to our
Over and over again.
collaborations,
Yeah.
um, but it came from your source, so it was okay, and mine, was not, even though it was the same information, and this, you know, asymmetrical thing of like consistently the other person consistently putting themselves in the position of the knower and not being able to ever be in the position of being the student.
Kind of
Um,
boring to be around.
yeah, where it was like, oh, so I tried to be the teacher and you're teaching, and then you went and learned something, the exact same thing, and then now are trying to teach me something that
Yeah.
I already know
No.
and tried
Yeah.
to teach
Yeah.
you. Okay, well, but that was that's the thing I'll share publicly. There was a lot of other not appropriate interpersonal things that happened, and so there was a lot of other things. But that is an example of like being very specific about a pattern of behavior that um, was
Yeah,
very,
and I mean
made me question
also,
myself and my abilities, and
yeah. And how much of the rationalization, how much of the explanation, how much of the what did actually just go down, what happened in me, and why did I react, etc. All of that might be really, really useful, but do you need to share it with the other person? Maybe you don't. There's a reason why there's a lot of people who write letters to their exes or ex-bosses or, ex-best friends, etc. And then you read it out loud and you burn it up, or you have a ceremony or something. You don't need to send it. You don't need to tell them. It is for me. Again, who's it for? What's the purpose of this thing? What is it that I'm trying to accomplish? I need closure. Okay. Give yourself closure then. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to involve the other person. You can even have a proxy person, to take it and receive it. So there's so many different ways of doing these things that I think could probably help relationships quite significantly if we just kind of opened up, realizing that, oh, all of those things that I want to tell you about what an asshole you are, that's actually knowledge that I need to have. I need to learn this. I need to see the behavior. I need to see where the red flags are. I need to start honoring my boundaries so that I don't, etc. It's like, it's not on me to raise you. It's not on me to get you to see, when are you being an asshole? Necessarily. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, right? But it isn't a given. I can ask, does it serve me to get into that type of conversation with the person who is always the teacher? Will he or she ever hear what I'm saying? No, that's kind of the whole point why I'm splitting up with them. Okay, don't
Yeah.
then, right? So there's always these um like different I think there's this is the opportunity, the choice and opportunity in the drama or the disco model. It's like it opens up. There's so much more that we can do than what we think. We think, oh, I need to tell you how I'm feeling. No, or yes, but maybe no. Maybe I should write a song, punch a pillow, draw a painting, cry in the arms of my best friend, read a book, take a walk. It's like there's any number of things that might be uh, equally valid and good options.
Yeah. It's a good point. And would you consider it opportunity? A goal that I have for myself right now is, like you were saying, can I use this to get better at recognizing how I need to hold boundaries? And can I get better at recognizing this the next time that it comes up? Would you consider it opportunity then to then, when recognizing it coming up with another person in the moment, addressing it in the moment, and not this angry, rageful way, because you have to be very careful that you're not displacing your anger with somebody else, the last person who did it, under the person who's currently doing it, um, but to say, hey, I noticed this, or hey, this is happening, and then have a conversation about that in the
Yeah,
moment
if it
before
is
it becomes
a
a
person,
laundry
yeah.
list of crimes.
If it is a person that is open for that, and if you're open for that, absolutely. It might just be that you see, okay, I just crossed a boundary here. My boundary. Oh, this is what went wrong last time. I'm not going to. So you just say, hey, I don't want to do that anymore. You don't need to say anything. You don't need to explain anything. You can just say, that's not my cup of tea. All of it depends. What's the interaction? What's the connection? What's the importance of this connection? What is it that they're doing? Are they trying to rape you or get you to do something that you really don't want to do,
Yeah,
steal something, whatever? It's like, yeah, it's a big fucking no, and then you
that's a
leave.
lot. Yeah.
Right? Or is it just that, oh, this is where they get me to, stay up later than I want to, or eat something that I'm really not wanting to eat? Or, it's like, no, you know, I have this thing. I don't want to do that, period. I don't appreciate you trying to hound me into it. So it's like, it's, again, once your awareness is open there, the entire range, the entire orchestra is there at your disposal again. Instead of, okay, I just have the little triangle. That's the only thing I have. It's like, it's not triangle time. It's like, yeah,
Yeah. So I guess what sums up most of this is it's all contextual. It's all context.
context is
There
so
are
important. And
no hard and fast rules.
no, precisely. No, no, they're not written in stone. It's like, or rather, they might be written stone, but the how of them can't be because that's where the context is. My boundary might very well be written stone, even though I actually don't think they can or should be. I think they need to be as in motion as I need to be. But I need to get good at noticing, oh, I just crossed it. It's like tripwires, right? Pick up on when you're tripping one of those. Go, I just crossed. Step back. Okay, let's take another, you know, head in another
Start the dance
direction.
again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you be comfortable with that being a place to end just because I have to use the restroom?
I
badly.
would. And I think that's a great example. Here's a hard
Yeah,
boundary. It's like, it's time, which is
yeah.
perfect because I have open mic now in my creative
I hope that you
community.
enjoy open mic.
I will enjoy open mic.
This has been a wonderful closed mic session with you.
Yes. Those are really good now and again, too. So thank you
Yes.
for today, Luke. You hop off
Likewise,
and
lots
do
of
what you
good
need to do.
conversation. Thank
Yeah.
you. And lots of good conversation. Lots of good
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
Lots of good ideas and lots to think about. So thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you. I love doing this. See you around.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoy this type of conversation, and if you want to join in this type of conversation, go check out the Patreon for Tankesbjörn. You can find it at patreon.com/tankesbjörn, or you can find it through tankesbjörn.com community. And you can click from there. Once a month for 90 minutes, we have a meetup on a topic, or not on any topic, just on what wants to happen in the moment. And those conversations are always just fantastic. And if you go to Patreon, you can check the doodles from previous conversations because those are open to everybody. So give that a go. Maybe you'd really, really enjoy it. Who knows?